Hi, I'm Kim McLeod.
And I'm Gerald Richards, and welcome to Soul Kind Connections. We hope you enjoy our conversation today.
Here we are. Oh, we're back again.
We're back again. Hello, everyone. We are back.
We are back. I know. Can
Even
you
if you
believe?
don't want us back, we are back.
I know. You wonder if anybody's still listening, but now or whether they've just given up, going,
They,
these two just talk rubbish.
no,
Or
these two just are
Yep.
talking. They're just having a conversation. I think they're here. They're here. If they're listening, they're here, and they are like, wow, those two are so authentic and natural. I love talking. I love listening to them because they're just talking as we do.
We're just talking.
So
Yeah, we just show up, as we were saying earlier, we show up as ourselves.
we show up as ourselves. We show up as ourselves. That's all, and that's all you can do, right?
Yep, yeah.
So here we are, another episode of
Another
Soul Kind
episode.
Connections.
I know.
What are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about wealth.
Okay.
And yeah, because so for me, wealth is more than money. And I'd just like us to explore a little bit about our experiences of, of all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Money. Okay.
and what we, yeah, just we'll see where we go, as we
Watch
usually
my
do.
neck tense.
I know, because it's the kind of thing. Certainly, growing up in Scotland, you kind of don't talk about money. That's one of the things. You don't talk about money. It's not polite. It's not polite come to you. You don't ask. You never ask people how much they earned and all that kind of stuff. That was like, oh no. So, and there was always a lot of secrecy around, how much people had in the bank or what was going on or what you were doing with it. So yeah. So I'm sure there's lots of hang-ups around money. But maybe if I just explain a little bit about why I think wealth is a bit more than just the money
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. Please.
Because I think when I think about I would say I have a wealthy life. And that wealthy life is made up of the relationships that I have, the fact that I've got freedom to be creative and to choose like what I do for with work or just having fun with stuff. It's about my physical health and my surroundings. It's also about money because that's definitely part of it. And also for me, it's about my connection to something greater than myself, which is kind of my spiritual practice. So I think all of that, if you pull all of that together, that's what I would say creates a wealthy life. So money on its
So yeah,
own, without all of those things,
it's
I
just
may
money.
have money. Yeah, it is just money. Yeah. But without the money also gives you the freedom to do a lot of the things with, with friends and to have, to have things that you want to do and to be creative and allow you a bit of space when you're wanting to, to explore things. So we do need, we need money. Because some people go, oh yes, I'm so wealthy and I don't need money and I don't. And you think, well, actually, we live in a society that does need money. But that's for me, that's where I would see the difference between wealth and just how much money I've got in the bank. So, so what about you, Gerald? What's when I said to you, let's talk about wealth, and you went, oh,
And my neck went. Ugh. I grew up probably like you and like Scotland. I grew up and we never talked about money. That wasn't something you talked about. People made money. My grandmother worked. People had money, but we never talked about money, right? And which, to my detriment, it took me years, well into my adulthood, to have a healthy relationship with money, and then to separate money from all the other things, to your point of wealth, right? Of all the looking at the things you have that are not money that make you wealthy, right? And I look at those things now, but we didn't ever talk about money. So I remember I got my first job. And it was like, what do you do? Right? If
yeah,
an American paychecks, you have no idea what comes out of it, and it's taxes and all these things, and you work a certain amount of time, and then you get your check, and there's all this stuff taken out. And I remember going, who are these people taking my money? And my grandmother's like, that's what happened. That's if you want to work, that's what happens. And that was the extent of the conversation. right? There
Yeah.
wasn't anything more, right? And then I remember I took out my first credit card. I was in college because they had them everywhere, right? Because I think that's how they got college students at the time. The credit card companies was that they just had credit card things everywhere. So we all signed up for credit cards. So I got a credit card without any concept that I was supposed to pay that back.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I got a card. I buy things. That's great. And then you get a bill and you're like, wait, I'm supposed to pay this back? What? Who said that? I thought it was free money. It took me a long time to understand about money. And I was in debt I think I don't talk about it a lot. I was in debt for a long time out of college, not just student loans, but just from
Yeah.
credit cards and
Yep.
just overextending myself. And as my mother said this to me, I think I was in my early 20s, in my teens. And she looks at me and she goes, you live well above your means. And I had no idea. I was like, okay, I'm not sure what you're talking. I kind of know what you're about, but what? She was completely right. So that's me. So I feel like I have a better relationship with money now as an adult and as an older man than I did. But like you said, I think the money part is a piece of it. And it took me a long time to realize money is a tool. Money is not
Yeah.
the be all and end all of it, right? You are wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
I consider myself wealthy because I have a assortment and a huge family of friends all over the world that I just love to death and that are my family and that are around. So that's wealth to me, to have that depth and that breadth of relationships with people who I adore and I love and I would do anything for, and I think they would do anything for me. That's wealth to me. So to your point, that wealth, being healthy, right? To be at this age and to be healthy and to be healthy and in shape, to be able to move,
Yeah.
to be able to do all those things, right? That's wealthy to me. To be able to have, like, at my age, to have decided to move overseas
Yeah.
and do this, right, is that having that ability to do that and having had jobs and things, to your point of it being part of having these things that are part of wealth, of making you a wealthy person. So I feel like I'm wealthy in the fact of it's not about money, because I make much less money now than I did when I made in the States. But that to me doesn't matter, right? It's all the things that go with it. To be able to do this with you, to be able to, to be able to see my friends and to go places and to do things right, and to be able to live. I feel like I'm wealthy because my life is satisfying to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's I enjoy it, and that's wealth to me. Is I enjoy my life, and I'm happy to have it, and it's one of those things. I'm like, I hope everyone has that, to be able to say I'm wealthy because of these things, not because I just have money.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think I see. I mean, and I've had a lot of hang-ups with money over the years as well. That thing around, and I suppose we learn a lot from our parents' perspective of things. And when they really didn't talk about it, my dad was quite obsessed with money.
Mm-hmm.
So he was what he would, he would say to me, like, so when then I was working, it's like, how much are you earning now? And, oh, you've just got a new car. Oh, you've got a fancy. So he valued things and your life, I suppose. That's what it felt like to me, by how much money you had. And I see a lot of people, I think, like that money gives them status, and so how much money you have and how many zeros are in your bank account. It's like, well, if you start with zero and we've all got a zero, it's fine. But that thing about how much money they have is what determines where they think they are, and how not just wealthy in terms of the money, but it's like it is status, and like,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right. That's what was the saying. Money doesn't buy you happiness. I don't think it does. Look at all these people who have money and they are not happy. Right? They
Yeah.
multiple marriages, divorces. They just try to accumulate more money and the hope that it's going to make them happy, and they're going to have some status, and it's going to bring them some respect. And you could see it's like it's not bringing them any of those things.
No. No.
Right? They're just accumulating more of it, and we're all looking at them like, you people are weird. Right? That's
Yeah,
how I see
yeah,
it. I'm like, you people are
yeah.
weird. Would it be nice to own three houses? Yes. Would I want to own three houses? The maintenance alone seems to be crazy on it. But it's not making them any happier as
No,
people,
no.
right? It's not. So, yeah, that I could just yeah, with your dad. I think it wasn't I think my grandmother was about status. I don't think because I doubt that she, right, and you come from a black family in America. You have money, but you don't talk about money.
Hmm.
You are out to make money because you got to survive. So you make money and you do those things. And I think back in the day when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, life was about survival, right? So you had the money, but you didn't brag about money because everyone didn't have money. And actually, sometimes if you bragged about money, you got robbed.
Hmm. Yeah.
So you just didn't do anything, right? You didn't show the trappings of having
Hmm.
money.
I think I grew up in, we lived in a council house, so it was like local authority housing. That was the thing. Everybody that I went to school with, all of my friends, we were all the same, right? So some maybe had some folks' parents might have had slightly better jobs and maybe were able to go, go abroad on holiday, whereas we went to a caravan somewhere. We were all fairly similar, and I think that's when you look. I became more aware of as I got older the the chasm I think now between those who have and those who don't has got wider.
Yes. Yes.
Because there's not the same. I mean, you take housing as the example. I mean, so we go back to the 80s, and the Margaret Thatcher. Um, sorry, I wouldn't get into politics because I could
I
be,
was about
we
to
could be
say,
taking off
tell
the
me how
air
you
for
feel.
lots of
Don't
things.
talk about that. But let's separate that because we could be here. That's a whole different
Oh
show.
no, yeah,
Right.
all
That's a whole
different
different show.
role.
That's a whole different show.
But her government decided that what would be here we're going to allow those who've lived in your local authority council housing to buy your home. And for a lot of people, it was like, oh, this is the only way we're ever going to have a property that's ours, right? So it was sold as like, here we are, we're doing this wonderful thing for you so that you can actually have a property that you now own. There was definitely an undercurrent beneath that, which was if you are now having to pay for a mortgage and you've got a chance to lose your house, then we'll be able to control you more because you can't strike and not earn money, and so there was a whole lot of stuff that was going on behind the scenes for that. What it did do is then it transferred, I think, a lot of what I grew up with, that then owning a house and having was then the thing that everybody had to do. And because there's less local authority housing, there's less social housing available, that to then it's a big challenge then for people, because if you don't own something, then you're paying private rents and those are really high, and you just see then this, if you don't have a lot of money to be able to buy something, to be able to have some security around that, then you are probably in, you could be in a really difficult situation now where people are just living like, hand to mouth every month with stuff. And so I can understand when people are seeing the this, the trappings of wealth, then, that people are, so, oh, the fancy cars and the jewelry and the posh handbags and all of these things, and go, oh, they want that because that for them is then signifying that I've got money to have that. So I understand that kind of desire that maybe people see now, if they've not, well, maybe if they're younger, but I think when you get to a certain age, then you go, well, there's more to life than all of that. If as long as your basic needs are met, because we all need, as long as your basic needs are met. But I think it is so different now from what it was when I was growing up,
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
feel different. I wasn't different from my friends. I wasn't the poor one that was living in a council house. We were all just living in nice houses. They were nice houses. My mum actually did go on to buy her house, and So, and my stepdad still lives in that same house that I grew up in, so it's still there. Um, but yeah, I think it's interesting when I look back at, my experiences growing up and what it's like now, for
Yeah.
young folk.
Yeah. If I was young, I mean, what, I just bought my first house. I'm in my
Yep.
50s. I just bought my first house. Because well, and that's a whole nother episode. Right?
Yeah.
Of about sort of like, influences of where you want to be and what you want to do with your life and stuff. But I
Yeah.
finally bought
Yeah.
one because I was like, okay, you need some. I remember a friend of mine years ago saying to me, it frightens me that you don't own anything. And I was like, okay. It's like, you don't own a car, you don't own a house, you live this. And I thought it was jealousy,
Right.
right?
Okay.
Because I was like, oh, yes, you live this carefree, easy existence. But then you realize that, right, you don't own something. There is a security in owning something,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
there's a security in having it. It took me years to realize that, right? There's a security in owning something, right? It gives you something. Not about money, but about just having a
Hmm.
stability in it. And that young people don't have that and don't have that now, right? They can't just buy a house because the money, right? They're not making enough money to be able to just buy a house, right? And back in the day, it's so annoys me when people are like, well, don't buy lattes. Screw you, right? It's not about buying
Uh-huh.
lattes, right?
Yeah.
There's
Uh-huh.
so much more going into it than why you can't buy a house than if you buy a latte. If you give yourself that one thing on a daily basis that brings you freaking joy, and it's a
Yeah.
latte, have your latte, right? Don't tell people that they shouldn't have a latte, right? Because that's not it, right? Things have changed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How you live your life, the cost of how, just from, and right, and depending on where you live, right? I lived in one, and I've lived in two of the most expensive places on the planet to own something, right? I lived in San Francisco, and I lived in New York City. San Francisco, I think I just saw someone sold a house, not very big, and I know this house, and I know the person who sold it for $5 million. $5 million for a house. How can you afford that if you were 25 years old and you want to own something? If you're 30, if you're 40, you right, if you do that. Same in New York, right? You want to buy
Hmm.
something, you can't buy something, right? And so it's this thing of it that there has things have I totally agree with you. Things have changed. Thing how much things cost. I mean, what your latte like 4 years ago was like £3, and now your latte is £5,
Hmm.
right? Or for me, my martini used to be £6, and now it's 15, right? So, right,
Yeah.
you do what you do, right? You have you equivocate it all, and it's interesting to me because I think like I said, it took me a long time, only because I think I grew up. I won't say. I would say we weren't poor. We were working class. We didn't have a lot of stuff. We didn't have a lot of money. We lived in a six-floor tenement. Walk up. If you look at me now, you'd be like, "You didn't come." I have had people be like, "Oh, you're so posh. You didn't come from that." I'm like, "Oh, you have no idea where I came from." Right. And part of that was, I think, not instilled in me, but part of it was the thing of like to to advance to where you want to be. It's not just about education. It was about having money because money is power, right? And the more, sadly, right, and the more money you have, the more power you have, right? So it took me a while to realize my mother's thing about living above your means was me trying to accumulate more power to be able to
Mm-hmm.
live like other people, right? Or the people
Hmm.
I was seeing, the people I was going to school with, the people I saw on TV, right? All the six. And so, how do you do that? You have to make more money. So, you get jobs and you make money and you do those things. And there are friends of mine who will watch this and go, Gerald, you love luxury. Come on. I like a good hotel. And I'm going to be completely honest. And that's fine, right? I love a good hotel. I love a good meal. I love all those things. I don't buy as many designer clothes as I did before because I think that's a knockoff of ripoff. But I like those things. And then I think you come to a point where I still like eating out and I still like staying in a nice hotel. But you also realize that a lot of those things don't make you better than anyone else,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make me better than it. And I think that's the thing of the wealth has become an equivocation of are you better than other
Yeah.
people?
Yeah.
If you have more money, then you're better. And I think that's it because I don't think
Th-
that's I don't know if you agree, but I that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Where we've
Yeah.
gotten to where money means you are better than other people.
Hmm. Yeah.
And as we see, you said we wouldn't talk about politics. We're not going to talk about politics. But as we see, all the people with money are right.
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
just leave it at that, right? The people who have a lot of money turn out to be really kind of right and really
Yeah.
not nice people, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing it, and I don't. If you want to, yeah,
And but that is also something that then I had in my head running, that I didn't want to. So I've been self-employed for 20 years, right? Different businesses. I didn't want to then be charging a lot of money because I didn't want to be one of those horrible people,
interesting, right? You need to
right?
make money, but you don't want to
Uh-huh.
make too
Yep.
much money.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
Uh-huh.
interesting. That's interesting. Yeah.
So I had this running through my head um that I didn't want to be like my dad, who was constantly, how much everything was worth, and and also then quite holding on to it, and that's also another experience of another family member who held on to things. Um, um, and so I had this whole thing going on, but yeah, I want to make, because that's like I've always been want to make the world a happier, kinder place, right? And doing different things to do that. That mission was way more important than the money, but I didn't actually place enough value on the what I was where my also need for money was. So I was too busy concentrating on doing all this good stuff for everybody else and not really kind of going, okay, is that actually enough money that I can then have a decent standard of living?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
so many layers of things. I mean, I have been unpicking a lot of this over the last couple of years, but so many things that, so it's like, yeah, concentrate, make sure that, oh yeah, so we've done all this great work and everybody's happy and I'm almost bankrupt.
Right. That's tell me more about that's interesting, right? That's interesting to me, right? It's like everyone's happy. I'm doing all these things. I'm helping people
Yep,
out,
yep.
but I don't have
But
enough money to
I'm
survive.
not looking after, yeah. And
I'm not
that,
looking at myself.
so yeah, and the big time that this came around was, so I was running, my business was called Stress the Positive, right? Stress the Positive. Um, which was all around kind of like creating, like putting less stress in the world, creating more positivity. So it was, so I was doing some therapy work around NLP, hypnotherapy, stuff around people who struggling with depression, anxiety. I was also then running happiness clubs and had this vision for Scotland was going to be happier. This was my thing, right? I'm going to make Scotland happier. So created these big events called Scotland's Happiness Day. And it was a huge conference, right? So we had tons of stuff going on. I mean, it was amazing, right? And so I went to the newspapers um, locally and where I lived and said, I've got this idea that I want to make Scotland happier. And I would like to, we're going to do this event in November. And this was by July, August time. We're going to do this event in November. And I would like to give out Smile Awards to people who just help make the world a happier place. And I think it would be great if the newspapers would get involved, and so we can get people to nominate somebody for a Smile Award. So the newspapers went, the local press group said, "Oh, we love this idea. This is brilliant. So, how are you going to take the nominations then, Kim? Are you going to write a piece for us in that'll go in the newspaper every week, telling us about what's happening?" Oh, and I was like, I'm thinking I'm just going to them with this idea, and they're going to do it, right? So then, what we created. So here you are, Sinclair and I then had to build a website, figure out how we were getting all these nominations coming in. And this is newspapers all around the whole of Scotland. So every local newspaper in Scotland was putting this out every week. So it started in August right through to November, right? I was writing something for them every week, but we had to figure all this stuff out behind the scenes. We had this big event happening. We were trying to sell tickets for the event at £20 a ticket, right? I mean, it's like it's
Okay.
no break. So this big event was, we had music, we had speakers, inspirational speakers, we had we were giving presenting people with these smile awards. We were, we had a big sort of like happiness conference type thing. We had a room full of stall
Yeah.
holders selling all sorts of stuff. Right, it was absolutely amazing. It was brilliant. I thought, oh, we'll get sponsorship. I had organised lots of events, but I'd never done anything this big before. Um, but we didn't really get sponsorship because I didn't quite know how to pitch it. So anyway, there was
Yeah. Yeah.
lots of lessons learned, right? Lots of people came and did. We exchanged things for free, and it was the most amazing day, right? People will look back and see it. We were on the front page of the Scotland and Sunday newspapers. I got a mention in the Scottish Parliament, for just saying how wonderful this was, right? All this stuff going on. But Sinclair and I were there every day doing stuff in this for sort of 4 months of nothing else, with the idea that, oh, it'll be fine because we'll make money out of this conference, right? So we weren't earning anything. We were putting all these we were doing all this work, building all this stuff behind the scenes, creating the actual Smile Awards, commissioning them to get
Yeah.
produced, all this stuff. And at the end of the day, we tallied up all the money and we paid everybody who needed to get paid got paid. And I think we had about 60 quid left or something. So we
My
earned
God.
nothing.
All right. Nothing.
And we had
Nothing.
nothing. So we'd had about 5 months of work, really. And this was all we were doing because we were so engrossed in doing all this. And what we were doing then, I was living on credit cards. You were saying about credit cards. Because you still had a mortgage to pay. You had,
You still got to
you
pay
had
bills.
bills, you had all the
Yeah.
things, and it was just like, well, I've got credit cards, so it was just like, we'll just use the credit card because it'll be fine. We'll make money, And I
Yeah.
was not for 1 minute actually sitting down and thinking about how much money was going to come in because my focus was on everybody's going to be happy when they come and they do this. Look, we're giving people smile awards. If people are going, we're celebrating this. If you ask, so it was like it was amazing, but
It
I almost bankrupted
bankrupted you.
ourselves. Yeah, yeah. And the other thing that I told myself then after that was that then I was a failure. I was a failure. So all of that great
Because,
work that I had
yeah,
done, I was a failure because then I had not made any money.
you hadn't made any money. Even though you made other people happy, right?
Yep, I'd made
And
all these, which
people
was,
loved it, but you hadn't made
yep,
money. Which I could, I'm right. There's a part where you still have to live, right?
yes,
And
yep,
it's
yep,
almost like an understanding of how you make money.
yeah,
Now,
yep.
not how to make money is not the right.
But how
It's how
to, I
to make
think
sure.
what I learned,
Okay.
I think, was like that I was not valuing, I was not valuing myself in that equation.
Yourself and your time, right?
And my
Yourself and your
time,
time,
yeah,
right?
if I had been, if I mean, you've worked in the voluntary sector, if you were doing that and you had funding for it, yeah, you've got to pay people to do these things, right? We had no fun. We had no fun. People would say to us, "What's your budget?" And I used to laugh and I said, "Well, do you know people say you've got a shoestring budget? We've not even got the shoestring, because we started without any money. I mean, that's the other thing. We did
Yeah,
not have a budget. It was just like, oh, it'll be
yeah,
fine. We'll make it up. And everything, it all happened. I mean, the event was amazing and everything came together, but I had not valued myself enough.
yeah,
So in here, I'm going, everybody else's happiness is more important than mine. Yes, we'll kind of make money because I didn't want to look at the money, because if I'm looking at the money, it makes me feel like I'm then grabbing money from making people happy, and that's not.
yeah,
And it was like so much junk going through your head about money and value and worth, which I have complete. I mean, I have stripped so many layers. I mean, it's probably taken me about. That was that big event, and that time was what 2012. We didn't go bankrupt. We paid back all our
yeah,
debts. We got
yeah,
through all that. Thankfully, family and friends helped us out, and then
yeah.
you got back into, okay, here's what we need to do. But those beliefs and what we hold about those things were, you know
What was
were
holding you
just
back
so
or left? or at least keeping you from making sure you valued your time and the effort you were putting in. You put worth to it, right? It's not you're not overvaluing it, right? It's almost the thing of like going into it going, I don't want to overvalue myself, but you have to at least value yourself before you can overvalue yourself.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
To it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, so yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be like those horrible people who are all money grabbing, and then I'm going, okay, so I'll just not do. I'll just think it's
I'll
all
just
right.
not
It's
take any
fine.
money. Yeah.
Yeah. And I see a lot of people who live like this in the self, well, the kind of like therapy space, the people who want to care for others. That there a lot of that mentality goes on as well still, in small businesses where they're doing lots of stuff for everybody else, but they're not actually valuing themselves enough to
Themselves.
go that, yeah, I too deserve to be paid in this,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
And it doesn't make you a bad person then wanting to looking at money. And that's the thing I
No.
think it was. It's the, oh, bad people, money, good people, oh, don't have money? Oh, wait a minute, this doesn't work out.
Wait a minute, it's not working. I don't have any money, right? It's just, right? I don't have any money.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah,
be a bad person. I don't have any money. What I'm gonna do tomorrow? Right? I'm be in the street. It's an interesting. It's interesting because I hear so many parallels. Right, right. I've worked in the nonprofit world, which is interesting, right? For someone who needed to have money, I worked in the nonprofit space, right? So where you don't notoriously do not get paid a lot of money.
yeah,
Um, but it's interesting in the nonprofit space because it's now. I remember for a long time, right? You would do things and you would ask people to like, oh, can you do this pro bono, right?
yeah,
Asking a huge
yep,
law firm to do something pro bono, great. Asking a graphic designer who's freelance is business to do something for you pro bono is bad, right? It took me a long time to realize that, right? Of like, stop asking people who make a living, who are freelance, who are doing things to do things for you pro bono. Pay them something. Maybe you
yes,
can't pay them everything that they would charge, but pay them something because right, they're trying to make a living. And I realize it's now being on the other end of it, and as I consult with nonprofits, and how many times you get people say, we're a small nonprofit, we don't have a lot of money. I get that, right? You get a lot of money, but the way you want to get paid, I have to get paid, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
let's work out something, right? Rather than coming at me with like, we don't have any money. Okay, it's not like I have money, so what are we gonna do? But it's interesting to me because young people, I find this Generation Z, whatever we call the generations, the Alpha, all of them, right?
yep,
That they're coming into the world and they're like, you will not work me to death and not pay me for it, right? You will not devalue me and my time by not paying me. And I commend them for that because I think that they're like, right, especially in the nonprofit space where many of them are like, you right. When I was growing up, we worked nonprofit. You worked on Saturdays. You worked evenings. You did because you were so passionate about the mission and you did it. You worked all of these times uncompensated
hmm, yeah,
for it, right? And you did it because you were passionate about the mission and you believed in the cause and you did it. And young people, they believe in the cause. They're passionate about the mission, but they're like, also, I still got bills to pay.
yeah,
And my
yeah,
time, I value myself and I value my time and I value my worth. So if anything has changed, I appreciate the fact that they now value, they understand the value of time and their value and that their worth and that they're not going to be, like I'm going to do all these things. So I commend them for that because they're like, when you hear people like complain, well, they're not going to do it. I'm like, no, we're going to have to rethink how we work, right? And how you do things. I think this is everybody. It's not just nonprofit. I think this is the
yeah,
world
yeah,
how we work
yeah,
because young people are like, I'm not working myself to death. Where did that
yeah,
get people? Right?
yeah, yeah,
I look at my grandmother worked all the time. I used to say she was a workaholic, but she worked because she had to feed family and she had to take care of people. And then she retired. She bought a house. She did what she was supposed to do. She bought a house. She moved to Florida. And I think she lived in that house for maybe 4 or 5 years before she died. Right? Because everything was like, I can't do it now. I got to work. 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 And now I can enjoy it. And then I don't think she ever really got to enjoy it. Right? As much as I think she should have deserved to enjoy it. And that really affected me because I was like, wait, if I'm working myself to death to make all this money and I'm not enjoying it, what's the point of it? What's the point? Right? You can't take it with you. right?
No
That's the one
pockets,
thing.
no pockets in a shroud, as they say.
No pockets of the shroud, right? You can't take it with you, right? And so not that you should spend all your money, but that thinking about right hoarding all this money is not you can't right. We're not the pharaohs of old, and they couldn't take it with them either, right? Because people found it and they took it, and now it's on display. But right, you don't take it, right? You go and it's done. So either having all that, accumulating all that money, spending it, and not just spending it, but like helping other people with it, right?
Yeah,
I donate money. I donate
yeah,
money to causes. I give money to people. I don't have a lot of money, but I give money to people because I'm like, that's what you are supposed to do, I think, or
yeah,
what we should be doing if you can to do it, right? With people and to sort of spread some of your wealth, as we say,
yeah,
to
yeah.
others.
So that really takes you to, I suppose it's then, if you value people more than money, and that's the thing that you see when you've got these mega billionaires who just seem to be, it's more accumulation of money and the people don't matter because they're making their money on the fact that they're not paying their staff.
Yes, yes,
You
yes,
know,
right,
the whole
yes.
thing is like, so if you can't, and this is the stuff, I mean, like you say, you're self-employed, I'm self-employed, I've had
Mm-hmm.
employees in our business, stuff that we've done. We always paid above minimum wage where, I mean, and we employed, um we had an editor who worked with us who lived in India. Yeah, because we were running our book publishing business, and we had editors in various places, and she'd actually contacted me and had said, "Oh, I'm just, I'm looking for some editing work. I'm actually paying." She was using that to pay her way through university in India. She's now published books herself. She's a writer and has published books herself. Was a brilliant, brilliant editor. And she said, "This is what I would charge." Right? And it was way less than we would pay somebody in the UK. Right? Just because that's we know, like, people in the Philippines tend to get paid less, people here tend to, and I said, "Well, no, we pay this." And she was like, I mean, it was almost like, I think it was almost three times what she would have said what her rate would have been, to get paid in India. And I was like, "But this is what we pay." And she was like, "What?" And I said, "No, no, if you're doing work for us, this is the rate you'll get paid because this is the rate, you're working for." And she was like, "This doesn't happen." you know but it was like, well, why, I'm not going to benefit, because that's my thing for me was like, well, I'm not going to benefit and earn more profit because I can pay you less for this.
Yes, yes.
So I did get better at actually, like, earning money for ourselves and make, that I did
Yes, you
get to
do.
that point where we
You
did,
do get
right?
that point. Yeah.
Hard lessons, and you go, right, okay. But at the same time, it's that thing around, well, yeah, but the people who are working for you, if you can actually make a profit from paying people properly, and that they've got a good standard of living, then I don't think you deserve to be in business.
I would argue you are a business person, right? If
Yeah,
you can,
yeah,
right, you're a
yeah,
if you can't pay people what they're worth, and you can't pay people at minimum wage or beyond minimum wage so that they can survive and get what they need, and you're just hoarding them. You're a bad business person. You're not a really good business person. You think you're maximizing profit, right? Back to that thing of, like, I'm maximizing profit, which means that then the people that work for me don't have any money, but I have all this money. Okay, and all right, great, you have all this money. What does that what does that do for you, right? Yeah, I agree. I keep seeing things of people saying, like, oh, well, they should pay their workers less. I'm like, then that doesn't make you a good business person. Then you can't figure out how to make money and still pay people properly. That doesn't make you a good business person. That makes you a dragon. Means you hoard money. You're a hoarder. You're a hoarder. That's what you are.
yeah,
You're a hoarder.
yeah, at the expense of the people. So
At the expense.
I mean, I think we've spoken briefly about this before, how I'm so interested in this whole notion of the kindness economy. And the work that Mary Portas started, just looking at people, and her thing was people, planet, then profit. So that's the thing about, so as we're going back to saying, making money is not a bad thing.
No.
So whether you're, whatever
I
it is,
like making
making money
money.
is,
Let's be honest.
yeah,
I like making
exactly.
money. Right?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
so
be honest.
that's the thing.
Don't.
I've got rid of the, making money's bad. So I've cleared that belief first time. So making money is not a bad thing. Making money is good because
Yeah.
we do, and businesses need to make money, but not
Yeah.
at the expense of the people that are there, and not to, not just screw over the people and not just take total advantage of what's going on in the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. It's interesting. This is an interesting conversation because we're still talking about money. We haven't gotten to all the other things around wealth, right? Because it's amazing how much money is dominant in this conversation about how we live and how we do things. And what I think that's because of the world we're in now, right? Is that back to money being power, right? It's interesting. Someone was just telling me a story about the Meryl Streep for the new movie that she's in, The Devil Wears Prada 2. They offered her a salary and she said, no, she then came back and said, I want double. She did an interview and she said, right, I want double. And they said yes. And she was like, I've been devaluing myself this entire time. I'm like, you're Meryl Streep. You should be getting what you want, right? If you don't know, if Meryl Streep does not know her worth.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Of all people, right? Hollywood acclaimed actress, Oscars up the wazoo, right? That she doesn't know her worth, right? How do you expect other people to realize, how do I negotiate? And I was as we were talking about it, it was making me think about how you negotiate your salary, right? And that was never anything that I was taught. That was never anything we ever talked about.
Yeah.
So when it came time, I would go for a job, I would interview, they would make an offer, it was there, and I'd be like, great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Never occurred to me that they'd be like, you could ask for more money. It didn't occur to me until I got to a point where I was like, this is what I need.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the first time, and I remember being scared to do it. And they came back and they were like, actually, they came back and they said no, and then offered me less. And then at first I was like, oh, you should take this job. And at the same time, I was like, no, I'm not taking this job. So I turned it down. And I remember the person got mad at me because they're like, you were turning down this job for just a couple thousand or a couple something dollars more. And I was like, that's the difference between me being able to live how I would like to live and me having to get a second job, which I don't mind getting a second job, but I don't want to get a second job, right? And so I didn't take the job. And I remember being totally freaked out. I tell you, they totally freaked out. Like, oh my God, Gerald, you didn't take that job. Best thing I ever did. Because the next time it came and I did it and I asked for what I wanted, I got it. And I was like, oh, you negotiate. So if anything, we should be teaching young people how to negotiate.
Yeah.
Right.
And that, like you said, it's that bit of knowing your worth.
Yeah.
Knowing your worth.
Yes.
And it's really difficult, isn't it? Because we're put into here's the minimum wage, and it's like, well, if you're on if you're a minimum wage, you're not living. You're existing in this country on minimum wage. You're existing, right? So, and maybe then having to have a second job or a third job to try and make ends meet. So this thing about going, okay, your worth. What is your worth? What is your value? Understanding your skills and your abilities and all of that stuff. But then you put a monetary figure on that, and we've already been talking about that money doesn't actually equate to your value as a person. But when you're actually going for a job and somebody's going to pay you, you're having to go, yeah, well, that's what I'm worth.
This is what I'm worth, right? This is what it's going to, right? You look at how I live my life, what I want to do. I got kids, I got this, I got a mortgage, I got this, I got rent to pay, I got this. This is what I need. And if they're not willing to pay you that, right? It's like, oh, well, but this is what I need, right? It's knowing what you value, right? Your value, your worth, but also what you need, right? This is what I need to live the life I would like to live.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the life I want to live, not the life I need to live. Because, hey, the life I need to live is me being on Dynasty in fur coats every day. but that's not the life I need to live, right? The life I would like to live and the life I want to live is me enjoying myself, going on a few trips, eating out a couple meals a day, cooking my food,
Yeah.
being secure,
Yeah.
being comfortable. That's the life I want to live. That's the life I,
Yeah.
you know.
And is that not something that we should aspire to for everybody then? Why should anybody have to be less than
Yes.
that?
Yes. Yes. That's
Because
where it
that's the
is,
thing.
right?
That's it. So you want, a roof over your head, some nice food, the ability to go on holiday, to go and travel a bit, to have some time out, to have some nice things surrounding you. That's not, that doesn't seem to
Not
be,
bad.
like
Not a bad thing.
crazy thing to, no, So why should we not be saying that there's the base value, there's the baseline, I suppose, that we would want everybody to live to be able
That's right.
to live to that. And therefore, what does that take? And that is then a shift then of, what does that take? And I've
That
had
is.
these conversations with my daughter as well. I mean, she's in London now, and she's she she's brilliant at the work that she does, but it's not something that is paid particularly well. She supports children with additional needs in schools, and
Which
she's
she should be
absolutely
paid a
fantastic
fortune.
at.
She should be paid a fortune
Yeah,
for that. Right.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. She's brilliant at it. And she's making a difference to those kids' lives and to helping the teacher and everybody else. So she's so good. And the school and her teachers that she's working with really value her, but they don't control the budget and how much they've got to pay her and then where everybody is placed. And it's a really challenging situation because she's living in a very expensive city.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But she's got similar values to me. I mean, she was, I suppose, that when she growing up, she would, and even now it's like for birthdays and things, she would rather have an experience than a thing. So it's like, well, let's go somewhere and go to do something that she gets rather than, she's not into, she doesn't really care if it's a designer handbag. It's like, what would I do with a designer handbag? But yeah, let's go to the zoo. Usually animals are involved. She loves an aquarium, so,
Yeah. Good stuff.
so those things,
Yeah.
about what we then value. So
Yeah.
yeah,
What we value, right?
interesting.
And what makes you wealthy. Like I'm thinking, it's making me think of like spending time with my friends. Like if I get to go somewhere with my friends, if I travel, like I'm going on a trip with a couple friends of mine in a couple weeks, which to me I'm so excited about because that to me is wealth. For us to sit in a cafe together or us to sit in a bar together and have drinks and eat together and talk and share and that to me is right.
Mhm.
It's back to this
Yeah,
thing about it's the experience, right? What's the wealth of the experience? What are you getting? What makes you wealthy is the experience you're having, right? And the experience of it rather than it being to your daughter's point, right? I don't need another bag. I don't need another pair of shoes, right? I don't need another pair of shoes. Well, that's not true. But I kind of, well, but I don't, right? I don't really need. If anything, I need new pairs of. I need new pairs of shoes because my feet are changing because I'm getting older and I'm not, the high heels, as I like to say, are not right my friend anymore. But it's that thing about right? About the wealth of experience, the wealth of friendship, the wealth of family. If you have family and you love your family, right? The wealth of having those things and those people around you,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
is the thing. Like I always count myself lucky. People, I'm like, wow, I have some really good friends in my life, right? And really good people in my life who I love to death, and I get to see and I get to hang out with, and I spend time with. And that to me, that's like gold. That's worth more than gold, right? Because at some point, I can't take the money with me, but I can spend the time with people. That feeling I get from those people, I can take that with me.
yeah,
That I take with me.
yeah, yeah. So wouldn't it be an interesting world if we started to measure how wealthy we were as a nation by the how creative we were, how much joy and happiness we had from spending time with other people and those relationships. If we could actually measure that, if we look at because your health is generally, if you've got a lot of good things like that around you, then your health potentially is going to be better. and we measured we counted as success, if you like, or whatever, and we
Yeah.
looked at those things.
That would be nice, right? If we did those things, and we don't, right? If like the wealth is not the measure of how successful you are, but you're measured by how happy you are, how fulfilled you are in your life, right? What's going on, and then you can figure out, right? Because those things are, I would say, somewhat easier to sort of get, right? I go out and I make new friends, right? And I mean, making friends is hard, but I go out and I meet new people. I make new experiences. I go take a class. I go do this. I do these things. That, and as I'm right, your happiness meter, what's filling your wealth bucket, so to
Yeah,
speak,
yeah,
are
yeah,
those things, right? That would be nice, right? If that was a thing of like, oh, I'm wealthy because my friend Kim and I get to spend this hour or so talking to each other and thinking people want to listen to it and hoping people want to listen to it, but also just we just get to spend time talking
you
to
just
each
get,
other.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Gold to me is to do that, right? I look forward to this all the time, right? Of like, oh, I
We have
get to talk
such
to
fun.
Kim. Right? We have so much fun, right? I'm like, I get to talk to Kim. Or other friends of mine, right? Especially now not being in the US, where the bulk of my friends live. So I don't see them all the time. But I talk to them a lot. And we Zoom and we do all those things. And I'm like, always how much that fills me with joy and happiness. And that makes me feel wealthy because I'm like, I get the time to spend with my friends and talk to them and see how they're doing. And I get to see the kids and all that stuff. It's great. That I much more value, right? The money's good, but I value that much more than that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And maybe because of the position that we're in now, it is a privileged position probably to be in, where we can say that, because
Let's
like you say
admit,
that,
we got to admit to it. You got to
yeah,
admit to it, right? Yeah, it's a privileged
yeah,
position to be in. Yes.
because there are people who would go, oh, I would love to be, but they are still working two or three jobs and running around and trying to just make ends meet, and then coming back exhausted, and not then having the time, or the amount of time that they would maybe want to then spend with their family and friends, and they might not have the money to go and take a class, or
That's right.
to go to a restaurant, or so those things, so we'll acknowledge that,
Yes.
we are in a privileged position
We're
now,
in a privileged
just
position. We are in a privileged position. Yes. And that's the thing, right? To sit back and go, well, everyone should be able to do it. Yeah, but I get it, right? We get it. Not everyone can do those things, right? It's just where you are, your circumstances and things. And so it's I guess figuring out what you can do
yeah.
with where you are.
Yeah, yeah. And just try, I think that would be the thing, that is, though, if we had, it takes a shift, though, it's a shift in economics, it's a shift in politics, it's a shift in, um, the whole kind of like influencer culture of of what is of value, and
Yeah.
so there's so many things that are interwoven into this. And I just sit here, I think sometimes like Pollyanna, with this kind of like view of, this eternal optimist that, it's, the world's just all going to, we're all just going to be, yeah, we're all just going to be nice and get along, and just, and people
Yeah.
will go, oh yeah, we want to do this because it would be a good thing to do.
It's
I
not
don't
that
know.
hard. I mean, here's the thing. Because I agree, right? I like to. I would say I'm an eternal optimist, right? And the Pollyanna thing, right? I every now and then I have to combat the thing in my brain of like, sometimes people are right, and they're just being like giving people sort of grace and being the world grace, but you realize how it's not that difficult, right? I'm there's part of this is talking about wealth distribution, right? Redistribution, right? Like imagine if those billionaires didn't have to, right? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna pay the people that work for me enough that they don't have to have two jobs because I can do that and not make all this money, right? Or, right, I can do these things, or right, oh, you know what? I there's a point where I'm like, y'all could end world hunger, really.
Yeah, yeah,
We could end world hunger if, right, the billionaires that exist decided, had the wherewithal to be like, I don't need to accumulate all this stuff. I would like to make sure people are happy, so I'm just going to do it. right? That's, I guess, my Pollyanna thing is like, at some point, I would hope one of, or two of, or three of them would be like, you know what? This path I'm on is not the path, right? And then I'm going to do, here's what I can do,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
other people other people would follow it, right? And instead, you maybe, hopefully, one day that's my Pollyanna moment. Is
Yeah.
that
Because
people
there
can,
are, I mean, there are, well, let's also say there are good people who have got a lot of money who have
yes,
done some amazing things. So it's
yes,
not,
yes. It's not everybody
well,
who has
well,
money is bad.
it's not everybody. No, no. I mean, there are people who've
No,
just gone, yep, that's it. We will, they do. Some people do it very quietly. Other people do it a bit more openly, and you know that they're,
they're doing it.
I mean, there was always a thing growing up when I would say, could I have, if I was wanting something, my mum would, who do you think I am? Andrew Carnegie. Because Carnegie obviously was the one who was like, who do you
Gave
think
away
I
all his
am?
money. Yeah.
Or I'm a Rockefeller. That was the other thing. It's like,
Am I a
do you think
Rockefeller?
I'm
That's what I
Rockefeller?
remember
Because I've
hearing
got all
that all
that
the
money.
time.
It's like,
Do you think I'm a Rockefeller? I'm like, it would be nice if we were, but I guess we're not. So,
so there are people who have got money, and that was the thing that I kind of came round to the thing for me as well. Is okay, so if I had more money, I could do more good in the world with that. If I had a lot of money, I could do more good in the world. So that's, so I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So universe, if you're listening, I'm open to winning the lottery.
I mean, and it was true. When I had more money and I was making more money, I donated more money
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I was
So
like, okay, I could donate more money. So it would be
yeah,
nice if I could. If we both win the lottery, then we could
yeah.
share it. We could imagine what we could do. We could transform the world. Everything would be different. Everything would be different. Everything would be different.
Right, this is happiness day, and that's happiness day, and this is
And
happiness
that's
day, and
happiness
we're
day right there. Happiness day every month. Every month has a happiness day. And if you're not happy, go have your freaking latte. With no guilt. Everyone gets a latte. You get the coffee of your choice. Get the drink of your choice today. It's free. Right? Here it is.
Yeah, yeah. But I think with there is some hope for me in the kind of political landscape. There is some, although this is the day that the election results are coming out, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll
I
maybe
have
say
no idea,
afterwards. I
right?
don't know. I've not looked.
I
I've
know.
not
I haven't
looked.
looked at all. I haven't looked at all.
So yeah. So here we get. We're not talking about politics, but yes, but we, there are some people who are making differences, and certainly, what I'm encouraged by what's happening in New York.
Yes. Yes.
Just so this is where we say that it's also possible to make those shifts and make those changes.
Yes. Yes. You can do it. You can do it. I look at what's happening in New York. I look at Mackenzie Scott, who's just giving away the money. Just giving it away to causes and to things. And when people write different things that are being defunded by the government, she's just giving the money, right? And I'm like, you go, right? Because I wish more people were like, you know what? I got enough money to be comfortable. I got enough money. I will live my life happily the rest of my life, the rest of my days with it. The rest of this, everything else, let me help people. If they don't make her a saint at some point in this universe, I think that's a mistake, right? Like she's just giving it away, right? And like him, right, in New York, the new mayor is doing all the things he said he was going to do. He's doing.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, and I'm like, wow, I wish we had more politicians that did the stuff they said they were going to do. I know we said we weren't going to talk politics, and we're not talking politics. I just wish people would do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
Right? Just do what you say you're going to do. Just help people. Just be nice. Just be nice. Be good. Be not nice. Not nice, because nice is performative. Be kind.
Be kind.
Be kind.
Yeah. Let's look at the kindness economy.
Let's look at the kindness economy, right? Think about, right, before the profits come in.
Yeah.
We like profits, but you know what?
Yep.
People, planet, and then profit. I like that. Right? That's a good thing to end on, isn't it?
I think it is. So
Thank you for
I
joining
feel
us.
very blessed and wealthy having spent an hour with you, my darling boy.
Same. My love. It's good. We might have a love after we stop recording. She and I are going to have a love fest for another hour. So we share our love, the wealth of our love for each
That's
other.
it.
So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
And hopefully people will come back and join us next time, which I don't know what we're talking about yet because I can't remember.
I
But
don't know. Not yet. I don't know. We don't know. We'll
It'll
hit
be on the
us.
show, things.
It'll be on the show, and you'll look and you'll go, "That's what I want to. I want to hear them talk about that. Those two people are cracking me up."
So thank you for listening, folks, and yeah, we'll
Thank
hopefully
you.
see you next time.
All right. Take care. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation. And if you did, it would be great if you could leave us a 5-star review and maybe even share this with someone else that you think might enjoy it.
Thanks for joining us, and we hope you join us next week for our next Soul Kind Connections conversation. Bye.